Hi, I'm John Waterhouse. Welcome to the final edition of our 2020 Prosperity class, our Summer Prosperity series, our review. Welcome to this very last episode where we're just going to wrap it up and prepare for our next class. And as we do at the beginning of every class, we start with our increased income program prosperity treatment. And if you've been in the class for any time at all, you know this. It's probably become part of you. And I want to let you know that we're going to be continuing to do it. Barbara and I are going to continue to do this for some time, just to continue to send out these thoughts to you in your life, knowing that you are prosperous, that you're living an abundant life, and that life is working for you as much as it is for us. So here we go. I, John, know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word, which I speak in faith knowing, now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. All right, have a great class. I'll see you at the end.
And anchor in all this 6 weeks and 1 day of good vibes, good demonstrations, good manifestations, breakthroughs, and openings. As I say, are you ready?
Yes!
Are you ready to be who you were meant to be?
Yes!
Are you ready to have what you are meant to have?
Yes!
Are you ready to live the way you want to live?
Yes!
Go where you want to go?
Yes!
Buy what you want to buy?
Yes!
Do what you want to do?
Yes!
And we're going to do this treatment for prosperity together aloud.
I dare to know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
Again.
I dare to know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
It's been a good class, hasn't it?
Yes.
Thank you, Bob, for that great presentation just a while ago. This is a $100 bill. Are you seeing it as a book? Mark? Later. No? No? Not that. Don't need to do that again. thought you would enjoy that. I needed a bookmark and it was available. Okay, so we have, let's see, 2 more secrets. I know you are just trembling with anticipation. Or you read the book. Either way, here we go. Our next one is called Work, Thrift, and Investment. Work, thrift, and investment. A couple of things he says here that are very compelling. One, he starts the section with there are 2 major ways of acquiring wealth from a commercial point of view. Man making money and money making money. I absolutely agree. And the more we move to money making money, the more money we get. Because we have finite hours to actually create our own income, but when we take some of that and use it elsewhere, it really makes a difference. But you have to be very disciplined and rigorous with those kinds of ideas. He says later on here that people will get what they give. If they give nothing, they will get nothing. And that's exactly how it works. You have to give something to make money flow in your life. It doesn't just flow through you on its own. The rest of that chapter didn't interest me much. And yeah, I know, because it was written in the 1920s before the Great Depression. They learned so much from the Depression. So things that are written before there financially always are missing a little bit. When I was a businessman in Texas, there came a point where I was going to go out of business. And an old-time fellow back there that had been in business a long time said to me, until you go out of business, you're only a half-assed businessman. And there's wisdom in that, because you know what you're getting into, and you know what can happen, so the more information you have, the better off you're going to be. So being done with this chapter, we're going to move on to the next one. This title did nothing for me. Moral standards and religious faith. Oh, that is not me. That is not my life. I don't want to talk about those things. I have a real issue with the word morals, morality. Because what that is that is a set of standard behaviors that a society or a culture or a religious sect imposes on people. Do what we say. That doesn't work for me. That's not free thinking. That's not free will. That's not finding your way in life. That's lining up in lockstep with other people. And even though much of what we would say are moral behaviors, we would agree with. But we don't necessarily have to do that because somebody says so. What we want to do is be ethical. We want to have a high standard of ethics. Those are self-imposed and self-policed. My Native American teacher, Will Rockingbear, would say that you are living with integrity, and he often used the word impeccability, if what you think and what you say and what you do are exactly the same. And if everyone would just live by that standard, what you think, what you say, and what you do are the same, you would have no problems with anything. So the idea of that is, let's talk about being ethical rather than being moral. Okay? And religious faith, I have no issues with people who have religious faith, but I'm much more interested in the spiritual path and the religious path. How Holmes came to call this movement religious science, I've read it, I've read the stuff, but still it doesn't resonate with me. I want to be on a spiritual path. And that takes care of the last chapter. Now I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. I have put together and tinkered with a list of prosperity principles that really work for me. And that's what I'm going to share with you over the next few minutes, okay? I want to talk about what my standard of that is. And there are 14 principles of prosperous living that I've identified and used in my life that really, really, really work for me. Barbara's talked about half of them tonight, but I'm going to talk about them again anyway, because that's what they are. I mean, the reason that she talked about them is because they are part of who we are and how we live our lives, and that's what I want to invoke within you tonight, is an idea of what these are. So we're going to start with the first one. Know your source. This is so incredibly important. Know your source. Now, if I ask you in this class, what's your source? You're all going to say in unison, God's our source. And you'd be correct.
But you may not be in that same place on the day that you get your pink slip at your job. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Comes to mind. Why would that be? Because we know intellectually that God is our source, because we come to this place and we see that that works. But in that moment of terror, maybe not so clear. And we begin to wonder how it's all going to work out. If you believe that the divine presence is your source of your life, of everything that you have and are, then you can't possibly be concerned. Obviously, you have to place some initiative on moving in a direction. That's good. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the point is, to think that something comes from anything other than that divine presence is missing the mark. It's calling you to see some limitation in life. Everybody on the planet that thinks their job is their source is playing in such a small way because it's not. And if you rely on that, as many people in the world do, what happens when that industry goes away? What happens when it changes and the company that you're working for doesn't keep up? Is that your source? Really? Does somebody want to be limited by that? And it happens all the time. You see it politically where they talk about, well, now all the people that were mining coal don't have jobs. That's probably true, and at some point that's going to be absolute. Right now it's not. It's being kind of revived and brought back. So is the steel industry and those kind of things, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But to think that because I've been a steel worker for 20 years that that's all I can do is such a small picture of who you are and how you live in life. Sometimes I swear that I see people lose their job just so they can prove to themselves they can do something that they really like. You know, I've seen people in this community go through that, where you complain about it, but you put up with it, and you put up with it, and you put up with it. Then you go to work one day and they say, well, we don't need your help anymore, your services anymore. And some people can do that and go, whoo-hoo, be happy about it, and some people not. Barbara has a nephew who many years ago was living in the Tampa Bay area, and he had come up here and fell in love with this area. It was just wonderful. But he had completed school in Tampa and got a job. He had two majors. One was chemistry and the other one was something that made him the perfect person to work in the field of testing water. So he had great skills and actually worked for a company down in Florida that did that. But he came up here, saw the place and said, oh my God, I want to live here. His wife was not at all convinced. But he was. And he said, you know what? I want to live here so much, I'll do anything. I'll scrub toilets to live here. I don't have to be this fancy chemist to live in this place. I just want to live here. So he came up, see if he could find a job. His wife's still kind of watching this and going, I'm not sure. Maybe we should go to Johnson City or Charlotte and check those out too. So they did on this trip. They did go to Johnson City and Charlotte. But this was quite a few years ago, so what I don't know whether it was the Iowa or the Citizen Times, the local paper, but he opened it up, sitting at our kitchen table one day, and spotted a job that was just the kind of work he was doing in Florida, that he was trained for. So he went, made an appointment, he went down to get the job interview, and the guy didn't hire him. And he left and said, okay, that must not be it. The guy didn't hire him because he fit so perfectly into that job that the boss thought that that was a setup. That the guy that had left that opening found him and sent him in. When he figured out that that hadn't happened, he immediately called back, no, please, we really want you here. He later became the general manager of that facility and made them a lot of money by doing some very shrewd deals. And things were going so well here, they said, well, you either have to move to Pittsburgh or we can't use you anymore because Asheville's just running too good. So he lives in Pittsburgh now. And he's quite happy with that. But the point that I want to make is that his being so willing to do whatever it took to move to Asheville created an environment that brought him a job that was so perfectly suited for him that it was never, there was absolutely no skip in how he did his work. he was very good at it. And his wife, of course, agreed to move here eventually. She got a nice job while they were here. She has another nice job in Pittsburgh. But the point is that your source is never the job. Your source is you. That divine presence that dwells within you is where you get everything. And when you're clear about it and not blocking it, what you're doing is you're moving into a sense that you can have it if you want it. And all of that idea that one way or another is your source is gone. So be with that. You, as the divine presence of your life, are your source. Have a vision. Barbara talked about this a little bit. It's true. If you want to get somewhere, you have got to move in that direction. You've got to have an idea where you're going. If you have no idea where you're going, how will you ever get there? It won't happen. Your ability to envision that life that you desire, cleanly, clearly, with all aspects, three-dimensional understanding of that place that you would like to be in your life, does not diminish where you are. So don't be in a place of discontent with where you are if you have something greater. That's what draws you. I think I'll give credit to Michael Beckwith for that idea that you are either pushed by pain or pulled by vision. Let yourself be pulled. The pain part is unnecessary. I mean, we all go through pain, but it's not a necessary thing to achieve an outcome that you want. What's necessary is that you focus in the direction you want to move. And you're willing to do whatever it takes, as Charlie was, to get what he wanted. And then allow the universe to fill in the blanks and give you all the information you need to make your life work the way you want. But you have to be the guiding force of that. You have to have a vision. And there's no one else that can give it to you. No one else that can know it. It's you. And if you're not clear about it, you go, I really don't know what I want to do. That will not get you anywhere. It will not come find you if you're not looking for it. But once you're looking for it, it's looking for you. So go ahead and know what it is that you want. Now, could it look different at the end of the day, at the end of this journey towards something new and exciting in your life? Yeah. But if you're paying attention, what could happen is that something better comes along. Something doesn't just wander along, you're drawing it to you. So be willing to do your part of the deal, and that's to know where you're going. At least have that strong idea, that clear idea, and then allow it to unfold magically in your life. It does. All the stories, and that's kind of the stuff we've been doing with this this income process that we've been involved in, is calling it to us and allowing it to show up. Barbara used to actually guarantee that people would find it. But occasionally there'd be somebody coming like, I didn't find money. Well, then you're not doing the work, because you are absolutely in charge of everything that's happening in your life. So when you're clear of who you are, when you're focused on where you're going, you must get somewhere, and it's going to be much like you planned or better. Oftentimes you didn't have enough information to have that full vision, but you had enough of a vision that's going to compel you to move in that direction. Doing that will change your life. Have a vision. Doesn't mean to be crazy. It should be big. Barbara talked about bigness a few minutes ago. It should be a big vision. That's good. That means that you're engaged. An easy vision, a thing that you knew you were going to get anyway, and I've seen people do that with visioning. They pick something that they know is going to happen. You know, they know they're going to get an inheritance when their remaining parent makes their transition. That's not a vision. It's going to happen. Right. So the idea is, do you do something that's compelling? Have an idea that's actually worth getting up in the morning for. That's when it gets interesting. So work on your vision. Make sure you know where you're going. Take personal responsibility for your life. This course ties into the source idea. But I want you to understand that in the teaching of science of mind, there's no middle ground. There's that lovely prayer that they do with AA. Help me to change the things I can and understand the things that I can't. I understand the meaning of that, and it's a graceful way of living. But you are completely, 100%, without exception, in charge of your life. Now, we talked one night in this class about the idea of willpower. And we found that that was a finite idea, that we can't do everything with willpower, that that's trying to force life. And we only have so much energy to do that. But what we do have in our knowing is the ability to create anything. But we must know it. We must know it and accept it and see it as the reality of our life. So that's the good news about all this. The other part of this is that having responsibility for your life when something turns out really poopy, that's you too. But that's the beauty of it, because even though I have to look at this thing that I created, and it's not pretty and it's not easy and it upsets me, well, what's in it for you? What's the lining in that causes it to happen? I think Sylvia gave us a great example today. She was in a horrific accident, and she didn't mention today that someone died in that accident. That's hard. That's really hard, and her life was obviously on the line with all of that as well. But it turned out, and what I just heard this evening from Sylvia is that by doing that, she had this beautiful breakthrough. One of the most extraordinary experiences of her life, of feeling connected and feeling supported and feeling loved in a very difficult situation. She has those memories for the rest of her life. And it was not her choice that the other person was going to leave. So there's not a responsibility for the other person. There's always responsibility for oneself. And the role that we play is completely scripted by us. And many people would say, no, I had no thought of that ever happening in my life, whatever it was. This terrible thing had happened. I was completely caught off guard. That may be. But that just means you weren't paying attention to what you were thinking. Because there was something in you that drew that into your life. And that's not a blaming. This isn't blaming. It's actually an incredibly powerful thing for us to know that with our actions, with our words, and most of all with our thoughts, we are creating the outcome of our life. And when we worry, when we are caught in a situation that we don't like, we created that. We made that happen. We drew that to us. That's a PowerPoint in our lives to know that we can do that. We are creating that. So if I can create this mess that I'm having to deal with right now, I create something better than that. I believe that every time we have a challenge in our life, it's that divine presence within us waking us up to who we are so that we can overcome this challenge. I have found, though, that in people who are deeply entrenched in moving forward in a vision, don't have that many problems to deal with. They have challenges in achieving their vision, but they are very seldom the one that's caught in the situation that they don't want. You know, they're focused on how do I resolve this so I get to where I'm going. That's a powerful place to be, rather than, well, they turned the lights off, or they gave me a terrible prognosis at the doctor. You know, those kind of things nobody wants, but yet we somehow create them into our lives to wake us up to who we are. So I invite you and encourage you to have that vision we talked about and be moving forward with that, so that you're not having to deal with challenges that are not as pleasant and interesting and fruitful in the long run. And at the same time, when I hear your story, David, about your cartilage in your knee, I am so inspired to know that we have unlimited ability to heal our bodies. And of course, not every malady that we get is there for us to fix and regenerate from, but that's always an option. It's always an option. And using that as our choice. Amika, hallelujah, sitting down 150 pounds. Wow. What a brilliant thing that inspires me to know that someone who was struggling with life, yet being the beautiful being that you are, to have found that and made those shifts in your life and to have the result you have. My heart was just singing when you walked out of that ladies' room with that new gown on.
Yeah.
Wow, that's success. That is success. That's who we're here to be. take total responsibility and you can do anything. You can create anything. You can have whatever outcome you desire. Ooh, be aware of your karma. Most people think that the term karma means punishment. It's usually used in that type of a context. Oh, this thing's happened, it's karmic. That's not what karma is. Karma is balance. That's exactly what karma means. It balances your life. Some rough examples would be, if you lie, people will lie to you. If you steal, people will steal from you. If you, anything like that takes you to the other side of the experience. At the same time, when you're generous, people are generous with you. We'll talk about generosity here in a little while. But the idea of karma is that whatever you're thinking and saying and doing is not only going out of you, it's actually reflecting back to you. So that when you do the little dance that Barbara talked about, the little girl in front of the mirror, she was creating the opportunity to have a karmic experience of her power, of her amazing presence. That's what she was creating. Everything comes back. Life's a mirror. The law of attraction is karmic. What it is on the inside is what we experience on the outside, without exception. Without exception. So don't be afraid of the idea that your life has karma. That's a good thing. You're not having to work it all off. You're not having to atone for your sins. That's not what it's about. What it's about is whatever you're putting into your life is what you're going to get out of it. And it will create a balance. So be honest with yourself about the things that are working and the things that aren't. Mostly inside. And really be open to that in your life, that you can have it the way you want it, but it has to start on the inside. Nothing in your life starts on the outside. It all starts from within. So when you plant those seeds of prosperity, when you're willing to do whatever it takes, when you're committed to an outcome, you're setting up your karma to be success. So good for you. Congratulations. You have karma. It's a good thing. Practice self-discipline. Most people don't like that word, self-discipline, or those words. The idea that that we can't just let it all go and do whatever we want, get what we want. Self-discipline to me, though, is a gift of bringing order to my life. When I have an intention to do something and I keep that intention, I feel like I have disciplined myself to do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm living in a way that my actions are reliable, that I do what I intend to do, and that I don't live with a lot of wishful thinking. Now, there are some places in my life where I'd like to have a little more self-discipline. For example, I've only trimmed my rose bushes once this year. That means every time I walk by those bushes and go into my house, I look at the dead blooms, or the ones that are gone. The rose hips, I guess is what they're called. And think, I would love to go trim those roses. But I don't do it. So I have this thing in my life where every day I pass the rose, I go, oh. Yeah, you know? And that's okay, because there are plenty of places when I do have the discipline to do what I need to do, to get where I need to go, to experience the life the way I can experience it. And that's true for all of us. But frankly, it does take discipline. It takes doing what you say you're going to do. It takes following up on circumstances and situations so that you're not leaving it to the wind blowing as to how things are going to turn out. That you're taking an active role in it. And I'm not saying that you have to control everything. The best place to control is in your mind, is in what you're thinking. To let go of as much criticism of yourself as you can. Not just of yourself, but of everyone. Because it serves no one to be critical of people in the world. It just doesn't. At best, we would be best off if we would simply love the ones we love and engage them and enjoy them and let everything else be neutral. Whatever comes into your consciousness, you have called in there. So whoever's in your life is there because of you, not because of them. It's not an accident. There are no mistakes. There's nothing wrong with anything that you've done, even the stuff that you really don't want and don't like, and wish would go away. You did all that, and you have the ability to change it. Self-discipline will keep you more on that path toward your vision than anything. So give it a try. Let it be okay. It's a vision, and you're the one that'll get you there by who you are and how you use your time and energy. I love this one. Clean up your life. And Barbara talked about that idea of cleaning up all those thoughts and ideas and beliefs and all that isn't working anymore. Clean that up, let that stuff go. The best line I ever heard on this came from Will Rocking Bear, where if someone said something to him that was not true for him, that he did not experience, he would simply say that. Well, that's not true for me. Don't let it in. Don't let that suggestion outside in. The thing that I see most people having in their thoughts are that things are hard. And they say it so casually, but so with such certainty. You know, it's really hard to start that, or it's really hard to make that happen, or it's really hard to be in a relationship, or it's really, and they don't even notice they're saying it. What they're doing is they're trying to let themselves off the hook and say, it's not me. I've done everything right. It's that it's just hard. That's a lie. It's only hard if you want it to be hard. That's usually my answer, which probably is one reason I don't have that many friends. Because I'll point it out and say, well, if you want it to be hard, let it be hard. I can support you in it being hard. Oh, no, wait, what are you saying? What are you saying? You know? So, pay attention to what you're thinking. Clean up those thoughts. And if you get one, if one comes out like that, if you catch yourself saying something's hard, notice. And then say, okay, that's not true. That's the line, clear, cancel. Let's start over. I can do this. If this is important to me, I'm going to do this. This is where I'm going. Let it be okay. Now that's the cleanup in your mind. There's also some real value in cleaning up around yourself. Drive around a clean car. Have your bedroom be clean. Put away the dishes when you eat out of them. Put them in the dishwasher or wash them and put them away. Don't leave piles of clutter around you. It distracts you from your vision. You can't get where you want to go if there's a bunch of stuff in your way. I should probably include my rose bushes in that. But you know I'm going to go to the beach first. So the idea of cleaning up your life has much value. And I'm not saying you need to be obsessive like some people I know. About having everything in its place all the time. I've had men come in my basement and freak out, it's so neat. But that's okay. Clean up what you can. It will lighten your load. It will put more energy into where you're trying to get to be successful. It will make you successful immediately by cleaning up your space. Discard things you don't use anymore. Barbara is having a ball getting rid of her clothes that are too big for her now. She really is. She gets excited. Isn't that lovely? Clean it up. Let it go. Let somebody else use the thing that doesn't serve you anymore. Take it to Goodwill or the Salvation Army or something and clean up your space. You'll feel the lightness and it will make a difference in your life. Be generous. And this isn't just out of a quality of kindness or humanity to be generous. It sounds like it, but mostly when we think of being generous, it's, wow, that person's generous. Aren't they a special person? Aren't they a standout person by being so generous? You know, I appreciate you being so generous. And I say that. That's nice and it's real and it's valuable. But the bigger part of this is when you are being generous in your life, you're putting out to the world what you have to give the world. And the world, I promise you, will act in kind, bringing the things into your life that you desire. The more generous you are, the more your flow is working. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So don't think about when you have an opportunity to be generous, take it. That means that when you see the opportunity for something to happen in your life where you are giving to another person, do it joyously, do it joyfully, Do it with great delight. And then watch what comes into your life. It's that priming the pump. It's getting the movement going and keeping it going. It's not that you at some point prime the pump and then it just runs forever. No, there's that constant thing of supporting that by being generous. Frankly, I think that Mary Love is incredibly generous being on the Leadership Council of Centers for Spiritual Living and traveling this last one to Utah, going to Denver, wherever they're going, and being one of only 3 lay members in our vastly large group of lay people around the world. She represents them. What a thing to do. Not an easy task. Takes away from her real estate work. But yet she's willing to go and do that. And then she sees what happens when she tells somebody about our website. And they go to tears because they're so happy. What a payoff. And how much more will Mary do in her real estate work because she is being so generous with her energy and time and money to go and do this other work. I remember talking to Christian Sorensen, who is the senior minister of the Seaside Church in Encinitas, California. He was the last president of United Church of Religious Science and the first spiritual leader of religious science. And he served for 6 years in those roles. They were the same role, they just renamed it. But he served for 6 years, and I asked him at one point, before I was in the position I was with CSL, how that impacted his center. And he said our center grew and prospered more during that time than it ever had. And he wasn't even able to be there all the time, but he was being so generous with his time and energy with that his community grew and prospered in the sharing of him. So be open to this idea of being generous. It's a powerful notion, and it's as much for you as anyone that you are being generous with. We talk about this pretty regularly around here, the idea of tithing. This is my list, so I get to put on it whatever I want. And I really believe in this idea. This idea that 10% of my money isn't mine. I'm the one that gets to give it though. And I gotta tell you, it is so wonderful to write a tithe check for me. For me, I love it. I love it. You know, I had a high school teacher, I don't know why he just came to mind, but he always would tell us in civics class that we have the honor of paying taxes. Tithing is not a tax, but it's a flow of money from the money that we get. Tithing is similar in that way, that we bring in money. And by taking 10% and saying, this goes where I'm being spiritually fed, I'm paying attention to what I'm getting, and I'll get a lot because of that, is a gift to the tither. It's wonderful, the one receiving the tithe, but it's the gift to the tither because they're clear that this is their flow. And by being generous, it keeps that pump primed. It keeps that flow going in ways that you could not have imagined otherwise. So having 10%, which is tithe, anything less than that is a contribution, which is lovely, but tithing is 10%, that's what the word means. By doing that in your life, what happens is that suddenly you're in control. 10% is enough to get your attention. It's always enough to get your attention. And when you haven't ever done it before, you're thinking, giving 10% of my money? Check and see how much you give to the government. It's more than that, much more than that. But giving 10% of your money to the place where you're spiritually fed brings forth the idea that you are highly fed. It gets your attention because it's a significant amount. Yet no one ever went bankrupt by tithing, ever. No one. So and this is also a self-discipline. The idea that I am rigorous in knowing that when money comes to me, 10% of it goes to where I'm spiritually fed. And I'm never wanting. And it's true. Since Barbara and I have been together and we have been tithers, we have never not had more than enough. We've always had more than enough. Always. Even through 2007, 2008, we've always had plenty of money to do what we needed to do. And I will never in my life stop tithing. In fact, the whole idea of Barbara and I ever leaving this center and doing that thing called retirement is such an illusion to me. And what I would know that I'd have to do immediately is find somewhere to tithe. I would have to. You know, it wouldn't make sense. How could I live my life and not do that? Because it works so well in my life. And I really encourage anyone that hasn't done it, and if you want to talk to me privately about it, I would be just delighted to share my thoughts and to hear what you want to say about it. That's 8. Number 9, be in service to life. We're starting to build a bit of a web here. The idea of being in service to life, again, is not just a nice thing to do. It's essential to you. You must give your time and energy, as well as your money, in life in a way that is productive and meaningful. I was watching a show on one of the networks that we get about the life of the Roosevelts. Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and Eleanor Roosevelt. You know, they were all related. And not just by marriage. But Eleanor was this amazing woman who was not sure of herself at all. She really wasn't. She was she lacked confidence. She was married to a very rich and powerful man, and she had money in her life, but she never really felt strongly purposeful in her life. And then when her husband, Franklin, became this Under Secretary of the Navy, she realized there were all these military people that were physically challenged or struggling in their lives, and she would go to places around Washington, D.C. and feed them food and counsel them and support them, to the point where she was the first one up in her house. She had 4 or 5 kids. She was the first one up in the house and out, going to help other people. Other people were there, they were rich, to take care of the kids. She wanted to be in service. And it was no accident in her life that she ended up being one of the most well-known and powerful first ladies of all time, because she understood the idea of being in service, and she gave her life to that. We all have to do that. We have to give ourselves to life. We have to be open to taking our time and our energy to do something for someone else. So I invite you to look at that in your life and see how that fits, because we see, especially these days, and they're promoting it much more, is that successful organizations, as well as the successful individuals, have an element of service in their life, outside of themselves, where they give without any expectation of receiving. However, I want you to also know that I don't believe in altruism. There's no such thing. You cannot do something for someone else and not get back. It doesn't work that way. So there's no altruistic giving where you give and you don't get. Of course you get. If nothing else, you get the joy of having served. You get the joy of the thank you. That's the least you get. Beyond that, what do you get? Well, how much are you willing to serve and be in service to the world in your special way that only you can do? Service is a real powerful part of living a prosperous and successful life. Practicing good stewardship to me means that we all have stuff. We all have things. We have a car, we have a home, we have perhaps money in the bank, and we have other things as well. Are we good stewards of that? Do we use these things in thoughtful and conscious ways? Even with our money, are we good stewards of our money? Or do we end up spending everything that comes in? Or do we have some other plan here, and do we have the self-discipline to follow through with this? Are we good stewards of the things that we have in life? We use that term ownership around here. I'm the one that came up with that. And it's a great term. But the truth is that none of us own this place. We're the stewards of it right now. And there was a story, something that happened when we were first envisioning this building on this property. And I drew out some pictures of what the building might look like and shared it at a dinner with all the members that were members when we were out in Fairview. We had this 30 by 30 room attached to a single wide mobile home, and you could get about 90 people seated in it. Very close, very close. And we had about that many people the night that we cast the vision of this center. And there was a gentleman that was there that night. His name was Carol Thompson. And Carol Thompson shifted everything for us that night when he got up from his walker. He had just had a stroke a few months earlier. Got up and through his struggle to speak, spoke as loudly as he could to share with us that what we were doing was nice for ourselves. But it would also be an incredible gift to people 100 years from now. 100 years from now? I never thought of that. I thought about just let's get together and go do this and it'll be for us. But it'll be for people long after we're all gone. In fact, he wasn't talking about 100 years as part of this, but he certainly was talking about you. Because all of you that found this building after it was built were part of our vision back then. That we would come to Asheville and all those people that were looking for us could find us. That's you. Some even from Connecticut. Whatever it takes. But even 100 years out, when we're all off dancing somewhere else in the cosmos, there's still going to be people that come to this center and love it and learn from it and get their lives to change. That's stewardship. That's stewardship. Okay, now we're going to talk about the part that Fenwick wanted us to talk about. He called it work, thrift, and investment. I'm just calling it save and investment. You got to start having any kind of investments by having money. Where do you get your money? Well, some people, come into money. That's wonderful. God bless them. That's great. Some people have other methods that they use, but the real method that seems to work for most people is save a portion of your money. It's like, if you tithe 10%, what if you set aside just for you 10% of the money that comes in? Oh no, I have to live on 80% of net. Yes, it's lovely. Because what you're doing with that 10% is creating a mechanism, a way for you to develop enough money or to build enough wealth to begin to invest it. Now, I will not tell you how to invest your money, but I have to say one thing. I'm a little surprised that we don't have an investment club in this center. Because I think that there's enough information among us that would help all of us do that in our lives. Yes. Maybe it'll happen. We'll see. But the fact that all of us have the ability to set aside some money, to have the self-discipline, to put aside some money, and then to use that money to make investments and go to the place that Fenwick talked about, which is your money making money. The center's doing it. We did exactly what Lissa told us. We created some reserves. And in doing that, the Science of Mind Foundation came up with this gimmick, it was kind of fun, that they were going to match money. Not really give you the money, but give you the interest you would have made if you had the money. So we have a $25,000 showing up as our money in the foundation. As long as we leave at least $25,000 there, we'll keep getting money, interest off of that. It's like having magic money, and it's working. And there are lots of other ways that people can make money in their lives. Be an excellent receiver. So important. Somebody came up tonight, Brian, and said somebody was trying to give him money. And he said, oh, no, you don't have to do that. My mother did that. I remember lots of people in my life, oh, no, not at all. I was glad to do it. The person's holding money out to you and you're saying no? And you want to be wealthy? You want to be prosperous? That is so contrary. The correct answer is, thank you. I take the money and tell them how much you appreciate it and be very grateful, but take the money. Really, don't ever do that again. It blocks your flow. You're not meant to do that. You're meant to receive in this life as much as you're meant to give.
Well, it also robs the other person the opportunity to give.
Absolutely, yeah. Because if you think they're putting that money out there and don't want you to have it, you're wrong. They do, or they wouldn't be putting it out there. They want to give it, and if you block them and block yourself, no winners here. So be good at this. Be good at it. You can even go to the point to say that it's going to show up, like this increased income thing. Unexpectedly, it's going to show up, it's going to surprise you, and you go, whoo, yay, and let it happen. It's good to be in the flow. And you must, as well as bringing to life, you must be willing to receive, or you're blocking your flow. Love seems like it should be something contrary to the whole our idea of being prosperous in life, but it's not. I do not believe people who have a lot of money and don't understand the concept of love are not being prosperous. They have lots of money, but as Barbara's teacher once said to us, in that case you would be very wealthy in your misery. And what good is that? Not good at all. So be aware of love. And if you want a model for being prosperous, love's your answer, because love is infinite. It is always present. It is ubiquitous. It is always there. It cannot be kept away from you. You can deny it. You can just deny your prosperity as well. Stop doing that. Love is always present. It dwells at the point of view. It dwells every other point. It is infinite in every way. Be aware of love. Stay aware of love. And finally, don't underestimate the value of gratitude in your life. As we've said before, gratitude is not a nicety. It's a necessity to living a prosperous life. Be grateful for what's there, because whatever you're putting your attention on is what you're creating. So be grateful for everything and anything you can find. And things that you can't be grateful for, look at them and find something in them to be grateful for. And that will make a difference. These are the 14 points that I use in my life. I hope they have value for you. It's been a great class.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that last edition of our 2020 Prosperity Review. I hope that you found something that you can apply to your life. I'll bet you did. And knowing that we've completed this course, I just want to thank you all for staying with it, for including yourself in it. If you missed any of the early ones, they're available on our website at www.cslasheville.org. And you can, of course, see all of our Sunday prosperity information and every other kind of information that we've got on there. There's a couple of things I want to tell you about. So next week, we're going to start a review of Dr. Barbara's Science of Mind 1 class. So if you're interested in going through the basics of Science of Mind with Barbara, it's an excellent class, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And I'll do an intro so to be there to help get it started. And also on the 20th of November, if you're interested, we're going to have a celebration and commitment event. Normally that would be a dinner here at the center. We would all get dressed up. We'd have a lovely evening together. Barbara and I would come and acknowledge the people that have helped us so much over the prior year and cast a vision for the coming year. So we're not doing it with a meal this year because of the pandemic, but we do still want to offer an opportunity for us to get together. And that will be at 6:30 on November 20th. That's a Friday evening. And we hope that you'll check it out and join us for that. And if you can't come and you would like to make a financial pledge to the center, you can do that on the homepage of our website. It's not up today, but it will be up very soon. And we encourage you to continue to support the center financially beyond this class. So thank you for being a part of this. And to close us out, we're going to do our prosperity treatment for increased income right here at the end of our class. So thank you again for joining in on this. I, John, know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word, which I speak in faith knowing, now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Thank you again, everyone. Have a fantastic week.